Hey everyone, this is Mrs. Estes and I am recording our video recap of our lesson from our U.S. history class from Civil War to present day. And we had a class online together Wednesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Nobody mentioned it in class. Anyway, we talked a lot about space today, so I want to review the last couple of weeks that we did together, including the Korean War information, and I will record, I hope, a screencastify that shows you where to find things on Canvas. It's really important that we use Canvas because that's where all of our information is going to be posted in the future and for now, and it's really at your disposal anytime that you want it. And of course you can watch my videos. So anyway, we are going to check out what we did with the Korean War. So we had a one piece of paper that we put so much information on, and this is what I put inside of my notebook. So if you can take a look. This is what I added here to my notebook page. I just taped it right in. There's a lot of information on this paper, and there is a step-by-step process of how to complete this page and what information we need to know about it. Basic information that we need to know is that there was the North Korean group against the South Korean group, that it began in 1950 and it ended around 1953. There is a very important ending here to this war. There was only an armistice line that we now know as the DMZ, or Demilitarized Zone, and it still stands today. And there was only an armistice or treaty that was signed to complete this conflict. It was a worldwide conflict, actually, because there were 15 to 20 countries involved with helping South Korea, and North Korea was also aided by other countries, including China. Basic information about this war is that it's a fight against communism from the West, I guess you could say, but basic information is that not really sure who won this war. We did not win. America was involved, and we were helping South Korea to continue to be a democracy, a capitalist society, and North Korean were not into that. They wanted a communist society, along with the USSR, or Russia, now we know, and China at the time as well. So we saw as Americans that if Korea fell to communism, then many other Asian countries nearby may have fallen to communism as well. And so we were prepared to fight in honor of democracy and capitalism. And because we also had ties as America to South Korea as well. They're very much allies to us today in South Korea. And but the unfortunate thing is that we have to remember is that this war cost a lot of people their lives. A lot of South Korean and just regular Korean, all Korean people passed away, including Americans as well. So it was a big fight, and we don't know really the outcome of that, except for the fact that North Korea and South Korea really didn't gain a lot of land for each other, and they still have what's called that 38th parallel line, including the DMZ. And people do not go in that area unless they want to be shot. It's crazy. The governments do tend to meet in that area, but it's very organized and it's very planned. If you cross that line, someone will shoot you on sight, and it's very scary. So it's still a divided country to this day, which is really sad. You know, very long time ago, and it's sad that it can't complete that country. We are in communication, I hope, with North Korea as well as Americans and other countries, but it's something that is very, very fragile still. So it's interesting, this war continues, this conflict. The basic information we know about this is that it's this fight of communism that U.S. has continued to happen over these years of what we call the Cold War. This was actually not a cold part of the war. This was a actual physical fight, and people did die. So what we really need to know about this conflict, you don't have to complete this entire thing. It's quite messy. I'm so sorry. But there is a step-by-step way to complete this and check out information of the answers here online right now on Canvas if you want to check that out. And I just folded this up into my notebook and I added that. So a fun thing that we did today is we talked a lot about space. So America's history has a rich history in technology and wanting to advance and be the best around the world and all of that. And space was no question. We wanted to be the best. And who were we in the most fight with? Other communist countries. Surprise, surprise. This was another thing of the Cold War. The more technology you had, you were kind of the winner with, technology and one-upping the other countries. So President John F. Kennedy in the 1960s and people in the 1950s, this idea of reaching the stars and reaching the moon and other planets and exploring the final frontier of space was something unheard of. And people were really wondering why we were put so much energy into that. But again, like I said, once we reached different technology platforms and going into space and sending animals and people up there, it was unlimited capacity of knowledge and understanding of not only our world, but the world around us in space and the galaxies and universes. It's crazy. And to this day, we're still finding out information. So we did a small scavenger hunt for a space race memory box. And I assigned this to families that they printed out beforehand, and they had this ready to go for class. It was a little off during class because students weren't sure if they were out, if they wanted me to go find them during class, or if we were just going to go find them together online. Either way, one student asked, what do I do with this list? If you want to make a project based on learning about space, this is a great start. You can also make a memory box like I did. I have a physical box here of everything that's listed in this scavenger hunt list, and it was something that helped me think about what do we know about space flight, what do we know about the history of space, and it was just a fun way to introduce this topic to students. So this is just for fun, by the way. So there's everything on here from a bag of dirt and dust to a picture of John F. Kennedy, the president, and a diaper, a picture of Snoopy, all these weird things, a banana peel, a tortilla. So all of these things, what are they significant to us, and why does this have anything to do with the space race? So in my notebook, what I did is I taped in the information that we found and we talked about during class. Now, students, we didn't get to finish all of this information in class, so I wrote in the rest of the information down, and what I'll do is post pictures of our answers so that we can fill in the rest of the blanks if you're really dying to know the information. Otherwise, I'm just going to show it to you quickly here, and you're welcome to pause the video, look at it, whatever you need. I apologize if it's blurry. Okay, so what's the connection? I just folded this and taped it up in my notebook. What's the connection of all these ridiculous items? For example, we have a bag of dirt or dust. What in the world would that mean? Well, along with a rock, the Apollo missions of sending people to the moon in the 1960s and 70s, their mission and job basically was to figure out what the moon was like. Different gravity, different environment, different atmosphere, different everything. So we today, and museums around the world, around the country really too, have different dust and dirt particles from the moon, and different rocks that were brought back from the moon. So one student shared how he went on this hike and this trek across a stream, and then he climbed and he hiked and he found this super cool quartz piece. And we commented like, wow, you went through a really hard hike just to get that one piece of rock. How amazing it was to go through a shuttle, a rocket, send you to another part of space to pick up a rock and bring it back to Earth, and all you have to show for yourself is a rock. And some dirt maybe, but those are things that are so significant, and it helped us learn more about space and different things from the moon. So, a big rock in the sky, the moon. The next thing we talked about, and I'm just going to run through these quickly, like I said, these are, it says a picture of a monkey. There are many, many animals that were tested on, sadly, to send to space or to figure out if flights were safe for humans. So we used animals like dogs, monkeys, chimpanzees, all kinds of precious animals that stood in the place of people in order to feel figure out if we were safe to go to space, and many of them were successful. So we'd have to thank them. There were 3 different animals that the USA sent up into space flights, and we honor them today. Okay, so the next one is an American flag that you're supposed to find, and I honored our class with my American flag hat that I so proudly adorn every 4th of July and any other occasion apparently I can find. And an American flag is still standing to this day on the moon surface. And one student commented, of course, there's no wind on the atmosphere of the moon. So what they did is they have a pole standing it up, and they have wire holding the flag straight so it doesn't fall and look funny standing on the moon. There's also a plaque that honors when that was placed on the moon too. And of course, we know the first people on the moon were the Apollo astronauts, including Neil Armstrong. So we're going to talk about him real quick. And that was placed on the moon, not just for the USA. Of course, we want to be prideful that we were there and put our feet on the ground first on the moon, but just to, not to claim it, but to show that people were there in a manner of peace and mankind. Okay, so moving on, that was just the 4th thing. I turned my page here and my other parts of my notebook. Please don't be distracted by my beautiful flags. Anyway, so the next funny item was a tortilla. And why would a tortilla, a piece of a tortilla, be important in space? Well, we know there's a ton of different space food out there, and tortillas actually have been a staple in astronauts' diets since the 1980s. And we know that things like Dippin' Dots ice cream and different space ice cream chips or different foods that are dehydrated or without water are used today in different fun examples of food that can be used in space. We know that it's not a pretty picture when you have to chase your food around when it's flying around you, just like everything else. So dehydrated food like tortillas are a great staple. Next one is a golf ball. Okay, so why would a golf ball be important to space history? There was an astronaut that actually played golf on the moon. It was for scientific purposes, of course, but he launched 2 golf balls with his club when he was there on the moon. I believe it says in 1971. And the astronaut shot the golf ball off the moon. He did it 2 times, and I commented with the students, I wonder if it's still flying in space, because there's nothing to stop it except asteroids and other planets and things like that it bumps into. The next one was a dime. You had to find a dime, and this was very curious to me. I believe that one astronaut in 1961 brought up many dimes and different currency up into space, but for scientific reasons, and it was lost on the way back. They had a crash in the water on the way back, and their recovery sank with the dimes. It was actually recovered later, like 30, 40 years later, with an excavation of that dive. So, very interesting. Money in space. Why would you need money in space? We don't know. The next thing we talked about was clothing repair patch. Why would you need a patch? Why is a patch important? Well, astronauts earn patches for different missions they go on. So, for example, if you're in the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts and you do an activity, you would earn a patch to show that's an activity that you completed. Or something like in the military, we talked about having bars or different things like medals to show what you've completed, what you've done, what you've earned in the military. And that's the same kind of thing for space astronauts. They have patches that say they were on the shuttle, or they were on this mission, they were in Apollo this, they were doing this. So it's almost like a sense of pride, and they would wear it on their special jacket or shirt. Okay, we have a picture of John F. Kennedy. Why would that be important? Well, he was actually the first public figure in America to really promote the space program. People thought he was nuts. And he said that it's something that we can really achieve. In his lifetime, he thought that this would occur for America and the rest of the world. Unfortunately, we know he was assassinated because people didn't agree with other things he had talked about, and he didn't get to see it in his lifetime all the way, but he definitely promoted the space program, and that's a reason why we have so much progress, is because it was given to the American people as an idea for progression, and it really spurred us on. Okay, so we have dimes, we have clothing repair patches. Okay, John F. Kennedy, and last on this page, a picture or cutout of a footprint. I even had my footprint available for students in my space box, but why is a footprint important? Well, we know the first footprint given to the moon surface was from Neil Armstrong. This happened in 1969. And it was video recorded for all the world to see. It was beautiful, and his voice as well, you know, very clearly. That's one small step for man, a giant leap for mankind. It's his footprint of his space boot. And there's still footprints up there today on the moon that don't go away because there's no wind up there. Okay, let's move on. All right, so students were very curious of why a diaper would be important to space history. Well, for long waits, just in case, when you're in a space mission or a shuttle or the rocket up to the shuttle, whatever you're doing, you're going to wait a long time. And yes, anyone in a spacesuit, they are going to have a diaper in there, just like race car drivers and other people that sit for a long time. And why would a paper scroll be important to space history? This one is actually very difficult and hard to understand for a lot of people. I didn't get to speak with our students about this today. An Israeli astronaut, the first Israeli astronaut, brought a Jewish Torah scroll, similar to like a Christian Bible, but the Jewish Torah, the religious script that they have, and he brought it up with him in 2003. It was actually given to him by a concentration camp survivor from the Holocaust. Can you imagine how special that was? And he brought it up to space with him. But unfortunately, there was a complication in his mission, and he died. That the Torah scroll that he brought with him was not ever recovered. So very sad, but I'm sure a comfort to him when he was up there. Moving on from the sad part, an ear thermometer. Why would an ear thermometer be important in history and space? Space technology actually helped create the kind of infrared sensor thermometers that you have today, and I'm sure a lot of people are using them along with this crazy virus going on. So we can thank the space technology and the Jet Propulsion Lab and different NASA scientists that created this for us. We have also, what's this here? A wet wipe. I use these so many times a day with my children. A wet wipe, lovely to clean. So this one, a new way to clean yourself and space vehicles. Very common way to keep clean in space. Obviously can't take a shower there. Not very easily anyway. So 15 here, a piece of banana peel. Why would this be important? Well, as we talked about earlier, there's monkeys or different animals that went into space. There was a very special monkey, a squirrel monkey. That's what they described it as, a squirrel monkey named Miss Baker. And she made a successful flight mission in 1959, and she went out and lived the rest of her days until the 1980s in Alabama. And the people came to visit her. They would often give her bananas, and she has a gravestone there, actually, in Alabama, the area where she lived and was raised after that. And people often bring bananas to her gravestone as like a little remembrance, like you would bring flowers for someone. It's kind of nice. Thank you, Miss Baker. We also have a shoe insole, so that thing that can come out of your shoe that can help keep it comfortable in there. So special space boots, right? Your astronauts have to wear special boots that absorb the shock of them walking, because they walk in a very different environment, and especially out in space, along with on the shuttle, on the moon surface. So the technology that was created for those space boots actually was used by athletic shoe companies to make better shoes for us here, like our sneakers. So if you have some new Nikes or some Reeboks or whatever you got going on, thank the space program for some comfy shoes. So, all right, moving on, we're almost done. Okay, our last page here. What's the connection of a Peanuts comic strip with Snoopy? Snoopy is actually the character NASA chose to be their safety mascot. Very fun. I love Snoopy. Okay, the next one here. Why is the number 13 written on a piece of paper significant to the space program? Well, there's a very famous movie called Apollo 13 that Tom Hanks is in. Houston, we have a problem. This is the problem. On Apollo 13, their mission launched at 13:13 Central Standard Time. That was 1:13 p.m. to us layman people. An oxygen tank actually exploded on April 13th for them. And this Apollo 13 mission almost ended in a disaster where all of them died, but fortunately the NASA scientists and technicians were able to get them home safely. It was a very big miracle. They were going to go to the moon. They couldn't. It exploded on them. They got home somehow safely, but that 13 is a serious number for the NASA space program. Moving on, we have a small piece of foam. Another really sad story that happened in many of our families' lifetimes. The Columbia space shuttle that was launched in 2003. All the astronauts and anyone on board with the space shuttle at the time perished. They all died, all because of a large piece of foam that was damaging their shuttle on their takeoff. So it was recorded for all the world to see, and it was very devastating and sad. But because of their mission, we were able to learn and be better from that. So thank you to the Columbia Space Shuttle mission. So sad. But ending on a nice note, a feather. Why would a feather be important? One of our students knew about this experiment, the Galileo experiment of gravity, of how things can fall at a different rate. If I dropped a paper clip and a pen at the same time right now, they fall, but they fall perhaps at a different rate. If I have a feather and something even harder like my pen, they do fall at different rates. You can even see it in the video right now. You can try it at home if you want to. I'll take these silly things off. But the feather is lighter and has different weight with the different particles that it has than this pen, right? Or a hammer in the sense of this experiment. So what they did on the moon was they tested this experiment because the gravity is so different. The atmosphere is different. There's no oxygen. There's other particles in the air. It's different. There's nothing there like we have here on Earth. So in the moon's surface, they fall at the exact same rate. And this was tested as one of the Apollo missions and recorded. You can actually find this recording on YouTube. It's awesome. So the feather and hammer experiment on the moon. Very cool. So that wraps up what we did in class together. And again, this is not homework. This is not something that you have to do. It was something as a project to explain how space history is important to us all and how it affects U.S. history as well. Next class will not be until after spring break, so lucky you guys. I will be working hard to make sure we're ready for when we come back. We're going to be checking out the rest of U.S. history up until the present day, so very exciting. Thank you for watching, and please have patience with me. I do try to make your lives a little bit easier at home. I hope you're having a great time at home. I know it can be really tricky and hard and boring sometimes, but just know you're helping everyone out there if you stay at where you are at home. I really care for you all. I hope you're all doing well, and please continue to be safe and learn more history. It's great. It's exciting. Okay, have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.